Hey guys, how's it going? First off, I would like to start by apologizing for my previous video which I did on ZENLESS Zone Zero. I had claimed that ZENLESS Zone Zero would be doomed if they didn't make any adjustments to their events. I admit that my pool of data which I used was a bit skewed. I was primarily basing my information on Twitch streamers and chat and Reddit. And I admit that some of the information which I got and which I saw were a bit biased towards ZENLESS Zone Zero, and that's why I ended up using the word majority. I do realize after reading through all the comments from everybody in that video that it's not a majority, it's actually a minority of people who actually feel that way, including myself. My point still stands about the events. My personal opinion still stays the same regarding how I wish the events had a bit more focus on combat. I personally still see that because it's my personal opinion, right? But overall, the game is still great. I still like the game. The combat is amazing. You're very quick to do the dailies and spend your energy and all that good stuff. So I still like the game. It's just that I wish the events had a bit more combat in it. So I just want to clear that confusion. I apologize if it offended anyone, all that stuff, but that was primarily my personal opinion. And yeah, but now let's take a look at what the standing is right now. Based on the gacha revenue which we saw in the month of July, which is when ZENLESS Zone Zero released, ZENLESS Zone Zero made $96 million globally. The accurate value as of today, updated today, is around 99 million. 31 global and 68 in China. So this is 99,800. So we can just round it off to 100 million. So ZENLESS Zone Zero made that much, right? That's very good for a new game. HoYoverse is a new game. They made approximately $100 million. That's fucking insane. But is it as high as expected? To be honest, I personally expected that they would make a bit more. Because if I remember correctly, when Honkai Star Rail came out, they actually made well over $100 million. So I kind of expected them to make the same because, it's a HoYoverse game after all. HoYoverse has a huge group of loyal people who actually play their games and support their games. So I kind of expected it to be higher. Not saying this is a bad number in any way. 100 million is fucking insane still. 100 million is huge. But yeah, I personally expected it to be a bit more higher. But then again, this was launch hype. There are a lot of factors coming in. So the numbers are pretty up there. We'll have to wait a few months to see how this will retain. This is good for HoYoverse actually, because now they have 3 games bringing them income rather than previously it was just 2. Sure, it's 3 IPs instead of 2 now, and there's more development costs and running costs and all that stuff involved, but still 3 games bringing in revenue is way better than 2 games bringing in revenue. Now, what does the future look for ZENLESS Zone Zero? I personally think ZENLESS Zone Zero would still continue to be a great game. A lot of people do like it. The main highlight, which I personally forgot to take into account, especially in my previous video, was the fact that ZENLESS Zone Zero, actually HoYoverse as a whole, has a huge mobile audience. I personally am just a PC gamer. I personally play all my games on my PC. I do not play any games on my phone. So I did not take that into account in my previous video, which actually was the main reason why my data, the pool which I considered, was so skewed. Because the amount of people who play HoYoverse games on mobile is actually freaking insane. So it is very understandable that most people who play on mobile would prioritize or prefer, the story and all the other aspects rather than combat alone. Unlike me, for instance, who play exclusively on PC. Most of these HoYo games are designed to run very well on your phone. Meanwhile, combat games like Wuthering Waves were not. Wuthering Waves had a lot of issues with mobile. So when you compare, ZENLESS Zone Zero will still stay as relevant as a good game, making it a decent amount of income every month, just like the other HoYoverse titles, because it runs really well on the phone and there is a huge mobile following. So if you consider that, overall, ZENLESS will still bring in a steady income for the next few months is what I'm predicting, and that it will bring a good revenue for HoYoverse. As I mentioned before, the mobile audience was one thing which I didn't consider properly when I made my previous video, and I feel like that's more significant than not, because a lot of people have access to phones and not PCs. The sheer number of people who actually play games, mobile games, gacha games for example, on mobiles are actually a huge number compared to people who play PC games, especially gacha games on PC. There are a lot of people who play other PC games, but a lot of people who play gacha games on PC is significantly less compared to the amount of people who play gacha games on phones. So this one factor which I forgot to include in my previous video made the whole difference, to be honest, because if I had accounted for that, I would have noticed that myself, that okay, my data is clearly fucked up. Only minority of people feel this way, not a majority. ZENLESS Zone Zero made a good chunk of money, whereas Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, their revenue dropped quite a bit. You can always argue that it was a dry patch for them and there was a new game coming out, so all their focus was on the new game. Totally fine. I think this is okay. I think this is perfectly alright, because going forward is when you have to think about it. You have to think about the future. Going forward, it's 3 games making money and not 2. So overall, even if their development costs are higher, they are making more income. And sure, I feel like the shift is gonna sway going back to Genshin and Honkai Star Rail because of the upcoming new huge patches and stuff. And then it will come back to ZENLESS Zone Zero when they have a huge patch. They're gonna cycle between the 3 games basically. And 1 month might be good for ZENLESS, the next month might be good for HSR, the month after that might be Genshin, like that. So they'll probably cycle between the 3 games, and I feel like these 3 games would stay relevant for a long time. Unless something major happens and something gets fucked up. But hey, this is what I feel like from based on the gacha revenue. I sincerely apologize for my previous video. I'll take a bit more care in collecting data and voicing my opinion in the future. But yeah, that's it from me. I just wanted to clear up the small misunderstanding from my previous video. With that being said, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Smash that like button and consider subscribing to my channel. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.